Mission Sports TV. This is The Locker Room. I'm Dave DeRocher with my friend Tim Vizzi. How you doing, buddy?
Dave, I'm doing good, brother. Good to see you. Excited for this interview.
I'm excited for every interview.
Every single one, man. Hey, it's game day today. I'm juiced up. I'm ready to rock.
It's always game time. I was about to say, cue up the national anthem. Because for me, that's game time. I don't care. I'm 30 years removed from the game. When I hear the national anthem, I rock back and forth on my feet. My fiance thinks I'm nuts. People always think I'm nuts because to me, what's next is coin toss, right? Let's play the game. And then I'm thinking, well, can I say that? Are people is that going to spur these other conversations that are just completely not the case? It's play the national anthem. Oh gosh, what a horrible thought to go through my head.
Yeah, it's odd times right now. It's different.
It is odd times. And hey, it leads right into our next guest, right? He's coaching these times and he brings up a number of things. One of the things that he brings up that I found an immediate draw to was he talks to his kids about love. And that it's okay to love another man, and to say that, that's the case. And as soon as he was saying that, Jim, I'm thinking, okay, Coach Brian Hamilton, Coach Conlon, Coach, all these successful coaches that have lifetime relationships with their athletes,
right?
All say the same thing. And we've certainly seen plenty of coaches that don't carry themselves that way. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that whole aspect?
Yeah, if you just care about winning and that's the only outcome that you desire, it's not going to work out that long. The guys who are successful are the ones who care outside the sport, who you are as a person, who you are as a son, as a brother, as a teammate. Those are the guys that really end up want to play for you too, right? That end up do win any of those championships. It just comes down to really truly caring and showing those people love and telling them that you love them. I think that's real important too, is not just you got to let people know. Sometimes they need to just hear it. Well,
and especially today, there's just so many negative things. I go through Facebook, and I have friends saying just bad things about people, and I have a hard time biting my tongue. It's like, you can disagree, but do you really have to say horrible things about another person?
Our words come to life, man. Our words come to life.
Yeah, and that manifests and it resonates, and it just isn't great. And we need to hear the word love and respect. Love and respect everybody. You don't have to like them.
Right. Love covers a multitude of sins. It really does. It conquers all.
You could disagree. You can be on the opposite sides, but love and respect where they're standing. That's not you. You're you. Don't use your lens on them. They're getting through life best as they can. You may be wrong according to you. Right. So, let them do their thing. But love and respect them, and we don't need to say horrible things to each other. And anyway, so Coach Harlow was talking about that, and then I shared that the Loving Wednesdays, and so when we would end practice on Wednesday, we would hug and say to each player that, hey, we love you as a coach. So if you're a young person, and if your coach is bringing those things to you, believe me, the first time around, most of the kids are like, okay, love you. Love you, but by the third or fourth week, they're reminding us, hey, it's Wednesday, coach, and they're loving up on each other. Guys, young athletes, boys and girls, that's what sport's about.
Yes.
Not about winning and losing. It's nice to win. It isn't fun losing. But sport is about life and life skills and getting along with others and lifting each other up and having a purpose and a goal that's beyond you, with other people. And that's what sport's about. And it's great to have guests that across the board, and whether they're coaches or not, right? We're hearing the same thing. Even the students we've had on, right?
No, amen. That's right on cue. And it really is. The game is bigger than us, and being able to really recognize the spot that you're in and the people that you're around and the effect that you have on each other. And like you said, lifting each other up and elevating each other to be better, not only teammates, but people. That's what this is all about now.
All right. As we go into our break, hey, Tim, tell people where we're at, and we'll take a quick break and come back with Coach Pat Harlow from JSerra.
Yes, Mission Sports TV on YouTube, guys. Make sure you subscribe to our channel. We are at Mission Sports Network on Facebook and Instagram. Looking forward to hearing from you and building this community together.
Hey, and reach out to us. If you know a rock star, you know somebody that'd be great for our show, let us know about them. And we'd love to reach out to them. All right, take a look at this quick clip, and we'll be right back. Okay, welcome back into the locker room. We have our guest with us. Tim, please do the honors.
Yes, our guest is a fellow Trojan from USC in the years 87 to 90. When he was there, he was the three-time Pac-10 champ, went to the Rose Bowl 3 times. Senior year was first team All Pac-10, a Morris Trophy Award winner, second team All-American. From there, he transitioned to the NFL where he's a first-round pick, 11th overall to New England, where he played 5 years, and then in 96 went to the Oakland Raiders for 2 seasons. He started coaching in 99, and now he's in his 7th season at JSerra, his 4th as the head coach. He's been married to his wife, Jennifer, for 28 years. He's got 3 sons, Sean, Corey, and Jack. Welcome to the show, Coach Pat Harlow.
Appreciate you guys having me on.
Of course. And, when we go through people's bios, man, I'm always just, oh my gosh, I can't believe this cat's on our show. This is so cool and done so many great things. And, playing in 3 Rose Bowls, I've gotten to know Dina Brazino, who's the director over at the Rose Bowl. And they just launched the Rose Bowl Institute. They just announced it today. And I've been there and I got to play against UCLA. So I've been in the Rose Bowl, but not a Rose Bowl. And man, I can only imagine the thunder and being on the field, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But talk about and share with our listeners, Pat, about growing up. What role did sports play? What role, if any, did faith play when you were younger?
Well, sports saved me. I was raised by my mom. Parents got divorced when I was 3. We moved back to California. I was born in California, moved back from Wyoming. And me and my older brother, and we moved about every 2 to 3 years. So my name was literally New Kid. And literally the only thing that saved me to making friends quickly is athletics. That started on playing kickball at PE or at recess or whatever it might be, handball or whatever. I was just, for some reason I was advanced in athletics. And then obviously playing football, basketball, and baseball. I was literally the white kid on my team in Long Beach when I was a kid. And, had some, not a lot of issues being the only white kid. It's definitely not on the team, but in the neighborhood a little bit. But I had some great coaches. One of my Pop Warner coaches, Merle Cole, who's a legend at Long Beach Poly, who was really instrumental in shaping me as an athlete, but as also a person. The guy just gave everything he had and helped me out a ton. And I literally still talk to Coach Cole. I still call him Coach Cole. 51 years old. Just got that much respect for him. And like I said, I moved around a ton. Huntington Beach, Westminster, Long Beach, Costa Mesa. Ended up out in Norco. And then when you move in high school as a sophomore, and I'm talking kicking and screaming to go to Norco. Sports saved me again. I was, at that time in my life, I was a really big time basketball player. So, I'm playing varsity as a sophomore and starting and doing really well. But I started playing football again, I played as a kid, but then outgrew it. I'm sure you ran through that problem too. So I started playing football just to meet some people. And kind of fell in love with the game again. And I had a great coach there, Gary Campbell and Riney Klein and Alan Kruger, that really, really had a huge impact on my life. I mean, I would still run through a wall for those guys. Met my wife my sophomore year, and she really did a great job of raising me because I was a punk kid. Hadn't really figured life out at that point. I'm 51, still trying to figure it out. But she really she's probably had the biggest influence on me overall. She's actually given me my best coaching tips. And, you know, as far as the faith action part of it, faith's always been part of it. You know, my mom was raised in a very religious home. She put that into my life. So I have you know, a good relationship with God. So that's the quick and dirty of it. Like I said, sports absolutely saved me. Absolutely saved me.
It's a beautiful thing. Sports are such a conduit to the relationships and the people in our lives that, you know, end up lasting a lifetime. And
Absolutely.
You know, it stretches far beyond just the team that you're with. It really does last a lifetime. And that's kind of what I'm hearing. These people who have affected your life, you're still friends with them today. And like you said, you still refer to them as coach. That's cool.
You know, I've got some great friends. I mean, it's from my Pop Warner team in Long Beach. I had 5 of those cats play with me at SC. And we had 2 first-round draft picks off that team, Mark Carrier and myself. And then we had probably the best athlete I've ever seen in my life. His name's Chris Roscoe. We ended up playing football and basketball at Hawaii. And he's just kind of a Long Beach legend, you know. So you know, Brian Tuliao, one of my best friends when I was in Long Beach. You know, played with him at SC. Now he's a detective in Long Beach. So, and it's funny because now I'm coaching his nephew. So
wow,
life comes around in
really
so many different ways. So it's cool.
Talk to us about those SC days. You won 3 Pac-10 championships and you played in 3 Rose Bowls. I mean, not everyone could say they even played in 1 Rose Bowl. I played in the Idaho Potato Bowl, not a Rose Bowl. But I've had that bowl experience. Take us through those days.
Well, SC was absolutely amazing. Of course, I walk on campus and I see, Dave will know this, Dave Cadigan.
My roommate in the combine.
Yeah. So Dave walks by me, and I'm 225 pounds, you know, playing defensive end. And I see Dave Cadigan walk by, and I'm sitting there with a good friend of mine, one of my best friends, Matt Willie, who I've actually known since high school, but we, you know, he had a long career. We both see Dave walk by, and we're like, dude, we're never playing him, ever playing him. And, you know, we're just like, man, we should have just gone and take those back. Could have gone and played basketball, a bunch of places. And I'm thinking, man, it was a good thing I'm going to get a degree from here because that's about all that's going to So, you know, I see Dave, you know, we had 40 guys drafted off of in my 4 years there. So it was just a tremendous amount of talent, great guys. I mean, I think we were a really close team. You know, we won a ton of football games. You know, we played, you know, we were ranked as high as 1 at certain times in my time there. And in going out and getting to play with those guys in the Pac-10 at the time, show my age a little bit. And it was just, I met so many great people, great coaches. You know, as John Matsko was my offensive line coach, who I talked to the other day. We're talking technique, you know, back and forth, and just an unbelievable time. Great people. You can probably see back here that picture.
Man, I was actually wondering about that picture. That's pretty sweet.
That's the original bird from Todd Marinovich, and it's funny. I bought that from him, and he's like, "Do you know the story behind that?" Because it looks like he's flipping off the guy from UCLA. He's like, I don't even see him. I'm flipping off Gary Wellman because Gary Wellman missed a hop. That's the only reason I got hit. So for all these years, like, oh, he's just true. Like, he's just gritty and this and that and the other. He's just mad at our receiver for missing his hot route. But
you know who the player was from UCLA?
That's Matt Darby.
Oh, okay.
It's funny. So my son's getting recruited right when what's his name? Who was the coach before Joe?
I can't keep
Neuheisel?
door.
Nah, his dad was the coach for playoffs.
Yeah.
Mora.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we walk into his office, and he's got all these pictures up on his wall. I'm like, do you know these guys? And like, there's Eric Turner, there's Matt Darby, there's Mike Lodish. And it's like, you know, he knew some of them, but I'm like, I'm giving him a little history lesson on the guys on his wall, you know? So it was very interesting.
You know, this has been so much fun for, I know Tim and I have a blast when we talk about doing this. I mean, I appear like it, but we really do. And what's really fun and what I find interesting is so many crossovers with every guest that we have on here. You know, and as you're talking, and you ended up at Norco. Well, gosh, in '83, Norco beat Glendora High in the CIF playoffs. And I have to say this, we walked out with 5 guys going to Division I, 2 guys making it to the NFL, and Norco handed it to us. And it was pretty much a bunch of Hispanic young men. You know, we were huge, and they hit us right in the mouth. You know, I'll tell you, it was, you know, a pretty humbling experience, and to walk on and just expect to win. You know,
that's Gary Campbell just teaching tough, hard-nosed football, and you know, we had some really good teams. Like my sophomore year, we beat Riverside Poly, who ended up beating Long Beach Poly in the CIF championship. So my good friend that I played with SC is actually my financial guy now. And I said, man, you guys were 13-1, man. 13-1. You lost to who? Lost to the North Coast. I still got a lot of love for my high school.
That's it, man.
We scrimmage them every year.
Yeah, the horse capital of the world. If you drove through it, you'd know why, you know.
My wife showed horses until she was 18, 18, 19, until I took her to New England with me. So she's a cowgirl.
So you had a great collegiate experience, far better than most. And then, well, gee, you were only drafted 11th in the first round. Was that the same year as Turley?
No, Kyle's like 4 years after me.
Oh, okay.
We had the same agent, so I remember talking to him before the draft and stuff.
Yeah, he's a nut and a friend. Anyhow, so talk to us about the NFL. Tell us, you know, it's fun to talk about being there and sharing any stories, but were there periods of being in the NFL where the NFL was a distraction from your faith, or, you know, because it's easy to get caught up into being that guy, you know? So,
you know, not really, to be honest with you. You know, maybe probably my first couple of years, you know, just trying to fit in. Yeah. But, you know, it was funny when I was in Oakland, Steve Wisniewski and Napoleon Kaufman were there, and Steve Wisniewski is maybe the most faithful man I've ever met, and just he's got this. So when I retired, he said, let's go out to lunch. So we go to this little pizza place and we're eating lunch. And he's talking, he's saying, hey, congratulations, you know, you get to go on and stuff. And I'm so jealous of you. And he's like, why? Because I've never seen a man so at peace with himself. And so the discussions, you know, and it all comes from his faith. And the discussions in the locker room, so it would be, you know, Napoleon and Steve and a bunch of guys, it was a very faith-filled organization. And the conversations we would have in the locker room were not what I would expect the typical fan, especially the Raiders.
I was going to say, the Raiders?
Yeah, the Raiders. To be having discussions about God. And, you know, my oldest was, at that time, was very curious, and I didn't have the answers. So I went to guys who had, you know, could help me have those discussions with them. One of the funny stories, so Wiz and I are driving into to a game and in Oakland, and, you know, the black hole people are just going crazy. And I'm like, what do you think their thoughts would be if they actually knew, because Steve was the dirtiest fan in the NFL for a while, right? What do you think that if they knew that you led Bible study, you baptized people, and you coached, he coached Gruden's son, Deuce, in soccer on Saturdays after our walkthroughs? Like, what do you think that their opinion of you would be? I would hope it would be even greater. But, you know, you hear about that craziness of the Raider fans, and then I go in the locker room, you know, when I get there, and it's just a bunch of men who, you know, loved Christ and wanted him. And Napoleon retired to start his own ministry.
Yeah.
pretty interesting time there. New England wasn't so much like that. And so it was really kind of cool to come back and finish up my last few years in Oakland and be at home. I got to actually live in my house for 10 months before we moved full time back up to Oakland. So that was cool. But, I met so many great people in my time in NFL. That's, Tim and Dave, you guys can attest to this. It's like, yeah, you missed the game a ton, right? But what you really miss is those relationships that you built in the locker room. Those are the things that sustain you, I'm talking, I have a really strong relationship with my left tackle in New England and Bledsoe and my guard I played next to. And you miss seeing those guys on an everyday basis and the conversations you had, and then going out and playing, to me, the most fun game you can ever play, and laughing on the field and talking some smack, because I was a big smack talker. Other than to Reggie White, I never said anything to Reggie.
Except for yes, sir.
Hit the buck, man.
You'll love this story, Dave. You'll appreciate this as an alignment. So Reggie jumps the count. I mean, he's offsides, but they don't blow it. So I returned to my high school days, and I leg whip him. And he's like, "Son, did you do that on purpose?" And I said, "No, sir." I said, "No, sir." I literally said, "No, sir, I'm just unathletic." It was beautiful.
I am so blessed that I didn't have to play against him. I was actually on the sidelines. We're going against the Bills, and Bruce Smith goes, "Damn, I'm glad you're on the sidelines." And I'm like, "Me too."
I'll tell you what, Bruce Smith is maybe one of the classiest guys I've ever been around.
Yeah.
In the middle of the game, left tackle blows everything on his leg out. I mean, his foot's facing, it shouldn't go in that direction. And I haven't taken a rep at left tackle since college. And it's year 3. I'm coming off, year 2, actually. I'm coming off a really big time back surgery. And I'm literally weighing about 255. And so I got to go over and play Bruce Smith. First play, my running back goes, "Hey, man, if you still let him go inside, and I'll chip him." He didn't chip. So I sat hard inside, and Bruce is screaming off the corner. My quarterback gets it off, but he may still be feeling that hit. Couple quarters later, he's got a chance he sees this pressure coming from the other side, and he's got a chance to get a sack, but he sees, hey, if I do this dude's leg's going to get blown out or broken. He literally grabbed my arm and pulled me out. I was like, "Oh, dude." It's like, there's not many guys in the NFL that would do that.
No, they bend you.
And he was a freak.
Yeah. It's funny. I was on the other side of the spectrum of playing left tackle. My first year in Montreal, I was at 365, trying to catch rush ends. Yeah. So, I'm thinking about today's helmet. I wouldn't be able to yell, "Look out," like I did. Look out!
Hey, how funny is it, man? There one time, I'm giving up pressure, and I'm yelling, "Bledsoe, throw it!" And he's like, "You have no idea how much I actually appreciate that. Like, I don't like to hear it a lot, but it's nice to hear it when you know you're getting beat." The NFL's it's so weird because it's 2,000 freaks of nature. And I told my son when we went to Atlanta for his first camp, I think the best guy you played against in college is probably pretty average. There's and they come from everywhere. I mean, shoot, when I got drafted, I thought I was going to Dallas with the 10th pick, and so we'd already started working the deal and that kind of stuff. With the 12th pick, they had the 12th pick. So I thought I was going there. New England snapped me up with the 11th, and I'm still kind of mad about that. I thought I should have gone sooner, but I let it go. I forgot what I was talking about. Oh, so anyway, the Cowboys don't get me. Well, they ended up picking up Eric Williams in the 3rd round, which was, I don't know, I think it worked out for him.
Yeah.
And Eric came from a Division II school, and one of the best players of all time is Larry Allen as an offensive lineman. He came from some known state. They don't even have football anymore. So there's so many athletes that come from everywhere, and they come out there and they're just freaks of nature. And it was awesome to be able to challenge yourself, and playing against Reggie White and Derek Thomas and Bruce Smith and some of the legends of the game, and see, hey, where do you stack up with those guys? Was awesome.
Yeah, it's amazing. I heard you talking earlier. You brought up the name Dave Cadigan, and Dave Cadigan was my roommate at the Combine. And for those of you who are listening, don't know, Combine is when they bring up all of the athletes throughout the country that are draft prospects and test us. And I knew of Dave, of course. I mean, he was a name, and to watch him run a 4.6,
Yep.
and then Randall McDaniel run a 4.6. And I ran a 5.1 or whatever.
It was a good time.
But the thing was, I was, I'm only 6'6" now. I was 6'7" then. I'm shrinking. And to go into the room of offensive linemen and be eye to eye, I'm used to being, head and shoulders. I was, virtually in every game and certainly on our team. But then to walk into a room of 100 guys and be like, right there. I mean, you're like, oh man, I'm not different.
I'll tell you the funniest story about Dave. Dave kind of took me under his wing. And so I'm a true freshman. Like I said, I'm 225, maybe 230. And I go one-on-one pass rush with him every day. And he is just killing me. And then I beat him the first time. I don't know how. I just put this beautiful swim move on him. Because my first 2 years I was a defensive end. And I put this swim move on all I hear from the back because he's going for me. And I'm like, oh my goodness, he's going to kill me. And so that's my one Dave Cadigan victory in about 100 reps. So my actually very first play in college, I was a true freshman. For some reason, we're playing on Monday Night Football at Michigan State. And I go out there and it's Tony Mandarich. Mm. And he's about, 325, just jacked out. He's got slobber going off. And there's a TV timeout, so I got a lot of time to think about this. I'm like, I'm ready. I got this. I'm like, I practice against Dave Cadigan every day. I got this. Tony hit me before I knew the ball was snapped. Rolled me into the ground. I think he punched me in the head on the way down. I get up. I start running to the play. Here comes a right hook, right to the head. I get up and I just start running the sideline because I know Tim Ryan's coming in. It was like, boom. And then they put me in later in the game. I ended up playing like 10 plays. And they put me in later in the game. They're on the 10-yard line coming out. And like, Harlow, get in. I'm like, in my mind, I'm going, did you not see what happened the first time? I'm like, are you kidding me? So I go out there and I actually get my hands inside him, wham, shed him and make a tackle. And I'm like, I got this. I can still do this deal.
So
I turned into an offensive lineman.
Yeah. My good friend is Bob Kula, who played next to him.
They were beastly.
Yeah, and he was an All-American. We played together in Montreal for a couple of seasons. So,
well, Coach, transitioning, going back, you're talking about the locker room, right, and the culture that you guys were able to create, and not having that in New England, and then having that later in your career. You go on to transition. You go on into coaching. I always say, I wish I knew then what I know now. So you're the head guy at JSerra. I mean, tell us about that culture that you're able to cultivate and create as the head man, and take those lessons that you learned through your playing career and give those keys and that knowledge and information to the guys that you're leading now.
Well, high school is a completely different deal for me than if I was coaching in college or the NFL. And it's really about mentoring, right? And teaching these kids your mistakes and being open and honest with them about your mistakes. But we're really trying to create this family atmosphere at JSerra where it's okay to tell each other you love them. And I tell these freshmen, when we start meeting with the family, it's like, if you're I'm going to tell you I love you because you are now my son. You're now part of my history. And hopefully I'll be part of your history in a positive way. So you're not always going to like me. Trust me, my sons didn't always like me. But just trying to create that open relationship with these young men. And there's so much influence that we can have as coaches that to me, it's not about winning championships. Everybody wants to win. I'm as competitive as they come. But it's really about, hey, does this kid get your message at some point? And sometimes I'll be honest with you, I've been coaching for 20 years now. And so I've got kids that are, in their late 30s and in the early 40s. And when they call me about a relationship issue or they'll call me, Coach, I finally understood what you were talking about. And I've evolved as a coach a ton. You know, when I first got the NFL, I mean, I was a yeller and a screamer, and I was super intense. Poor kids at Kenyon High School in Anaheim Hills, they didn't know what was coming at them. And then when I was a head coach in Arizona, and I have a really tight bond with those kids, and then moved back out here to San Clemente, and I learned a ton from a guy named John Hamro, who's the athletic director at San Clemente and was the O-line coach. And he used to get kids that I didn't think could ever play, and all of a sudden they're all league. They're helping us, win playoff games. And I figured out it was he made them believe in themselves so much and was so good at building that relationship that those kids played way above their heads. And we've had some really good guys come through, San Clemente and JSerra, and we had our first lineman get drafted this year, Nick Harris. But it's really about building those relationships and knowing that you have their back no matter what. And you take interest in them outside of being an athlete,
Right.
I push multiple sports. I'm one of the few guys that says it and actually pushes it. I think anymore, unfortunately. So ask them about that. Ask them, how's their mom and dad? How's, just anything other than, about football. And then they get to go say, this guy really does care about me. Besides as just being a football player, but what I can do for him on the field. So that's really what it's about. And obviously, at JSerra, we're allowed to express our faith. We pray, before and after practice, and we go to chapel, on game days and do those things along with what the school does already. So it's a really cool spot for me personally, where you can talk about faith and you talk about bigger subjects that maybe you couldn't do it at another place. So it's really fun. The kids keep me energized. I do love coaching. I love developing kids. I love seeing the growth in them over 4 years as human beings and as well as football players. And that's really what this is about. If we win a Train League championship and that's what somebody put that on my headstone, I really didn't win. If we got guys that are, I talk about it being 5 stars, but 5-star husbands, 5-star fathers, and 5-star leaders in your community. That's what it's about. That's what high school athletics should be about. And if you've got the talent, we've got the ability to get you to college. But that's not my ultimate goal, because those things will happen if you put in the work on a consistent basis.
Yeah, I hear you sharing about being on the field and being a talker, and I don't know where it came from, but I think it was part of crossing that line. When I went onto the field, I had to become a different person, because being 6'7", 350 pounds, if you do anything rude or whatever, you're a bully, but on the field, you need to be. And my hair covered my name, and I just took on a different persona. And I remember my buddy playing next to me, Jeff Novak. I don't know if you know Jeff. Yeah. So Jeff goes, DeRocher, he goes, where do you get the energy? You don't shut up. I'm just talking and, and having fun. That was my way of having a good time, dancing during the timeouts to whatever dumb song was on, and being a nut on the field. But then, that was the field. And so many people don't turn it off. You got to turn it on and turn it off. I also want to affirm to those coaches that may be listening, especially young coaches, love teaching those young men things they're not hearing at home or elsewhere, that it's okay to love another man. I say it. So one of our first guests was Coach Brian Hamilton, who I coached with up in Northern California. And he did that. And as a matter of fact, I think in his thumbnails about, coaching with love. And we had Loving Wednesdays. And Loving Wednesdays was at the end of practice, line, each player came through, hugged each coach, said, I love you. And, he said, this is what we do. And I said, I'm down. How do the kids think? He goes, it takes them a minute, But sure as heck, though, if there was a Wednesday where we forgot to say Loving Wednesday, hey, coach, we got Loving Wednesdays. And the kids loved it. It gave us that connection. And then the other thing you touched on, and I just want to affirm that it makes a difference, because I've seen it make a difference, is that talking to the kids about anything but football. I used to take my top lineman that had the most pancakes to a pancake breakfast at the club the following week before game on Friday mornings. And then I would take whoever else. I'd take a few others, because I didn't want it to be, intimidating. I wanted it to be comfortable. The caveat being, we talk about anything but football. I want to know, just like you're saying, Coach, your girlfriend, what are your plans? What do you think about college? How's things at home? And and then the connections that were forged with that breakfast, you know, and then years after, this was 2007. So however many years later, I still have a handful of those kids as friends on Facebook that reach out, you know, just, hey coach, how's it going? I saw you doing this, I saw you doing that. And had one kid make a tryout to the Jets, and a couple of kids get scholarships, and to have that connection that is forged and will last for life. And I don't know if I've shared it in this interview, but our previous interview was with my high school coach and the difference that he made. And I'm going to end it with this. I kind of go off on tangents, but is that you and I sat down. I met you at Jesse's Men in the Trenches camps. We were over at JSerra, and we had a brief talk, and you invited me to come talk to you about helping out coaching. And I was a little apprehensive because I knew my time was restricted, but man, I just love being on the field with young guys and being that, you know, being that person that can mentor them. And by the time I got done, you know, I allowed maybe 30 minutes, and I think you and I sat down for an hour and a half, and I was in. I was like rescheduling my whole career just so I could come help with your freshman team. And I got home and I prayed about it. I'm like, Dave, you know, I know you want to do this, and eventually you can, but it wasn't about the X's and O's. I don't know if we even talked much about that. We talked about maybe, I don't know, but it was your philosophy, and it just reverberated, you know. And I'm like, man, this is the kind of cat I want to attach, you know, my thing to and be a part of. So hopefully, you know, once I get my life figured out, maybe that door might be open for me. But
that door is going to be open for you, big man.
Yeah, but it is that. It's beyond the sport. The sport's the catalyst. The sport is what ties them in. But man, using that platform to make them better men. Was it Dabo Sweeney? You know, if we're not teaching them to be better men, better fathers, better, you know, brothers, then we're not teaching them.
I 100% agree. You know, and our coaching mantra is coach them hard and love them harder. Yep. So you can get on a kid at practice, but before that practice, before they leave that field, you need to put your arm around them, talk to them, tell them you love them, and say, hey man, I'm just trying to get you better, or that's not acceptable. And sometimes those are the best learning moments. You know, I've had kids in my office, you know, they're in trouble, they get in trouble at school or something, or do something on the field that is not something that I'm okay with. And, you know, we sit there and we have talks, and then it gets into way more than that. And then I can kind of find out why they're doing these things. I find out what's going on at home, find out, you know, I got, you know, kids with their dads are in prison, they don't have a dad. And, you know, I know as being, you know, shoot, Dave, I was 6'2", 190 pounds when I was 12 years old. And my mom's trying to, you know, discipline me. And that's a rough go without, you know, my dad is 77 right now. I don't think I would test him, because that old dude can bring the smoke now. He's all 5'10", 170 pounds.
My mom was 6'2", and I'm not going to say her weight, but I get my size from mom, the big German lady, and her famous saying is, I could reach you from here. And it was true. My brother and I, who's 6'9", if we did something or said something dumb, we ducked. And then dad was 6'7", $190. They called him slim, but the same thing, did not test dad. You know? Yeah, I get it. Hey, you know what, Tim? I think we've got to figure out a way. I don't know. Maybe we don't do our intros anymore, because it just seems like we get to 30 minutes with our guests, and we could keep going. But
we got these superstar guests with these superstar stories, and I mean the messages that we're hearing from you guys really just resonate, and it's something that can be good for any student athlete, any parent, any coach. They all need to hear it, really.
And I'll tell you, Pat, in the community, what you're doing is working, because people that you don't know that I know say, man, Harlow is such a great program. He's doing great things with the kids, and they're all parents of kids that are playing for you. So whatever it is, it's working, buddy. And I appreciate you being on the show. Tim always takes this time just to tell people where to find us, and then we'll just part ways.
Yeah, we're on YouTube at Mission Sports TV. Make sure you guys subscribe to us. Mission Sports Network on Instagram and on Facebook. Reach out to us. We want to hear from you guys. Trying to build this community and come together, especially during these times with division. We need to unite. So we're in this thing together. So appreciate you, Coach. Thank you for coming on again.
Thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Hey, keep doing great things, Coach. Hey, and everybody out there, be good teammates. See you next week.
Take care.